Amazing audience. We are live at Kathy Smith's home right now, and I must say that we were actually treated to a chef preparation of breakfast, right? And while Mr. Anderson Sr. was doing what he was doing, I thought it would really be fun to have a conversation with him. Um, I haven't tasted the food just yet, so I wouldn't be able to comment on that. But it smells absolutely amazing. And what was it? Croquettes?
Salmon croquettes.
Salmon croquettes, right? That we're about to have. But without further ado, this is Mr. David. Mr. David, a pleasure to meet you.
My pleasure.
Tell me, which of your talents do you think is responsible for us connecting at this time, right now?
Well, through my daughter, she's an entrepreneur. I don't know where she get it from.
Oh.
She's a person that aspires to be independent, and it came from our family background. Not just myself, my brother, my sister. We've all owned our own businesses.
Wow.
My sister just got an award recently for being in Washington, D.C. for 50 years as a beautician. And my brother's a contractor, and he lives in Fort Washington, Maryland. I've been an entrepreneur all my life with about 6 different businesses, so we do aspire, our family do aspire to own our own business and work for ourselves.
That's great. Wonderful. Who did you learn it from?
I guess you can say it came from my father, which at an early age, at the age of 12, 11 or 12, he bought me a brand new lawnmower and a brand new bicycle, and they weren't for pleasure. They were cutting everybody's grass, and the bicycle for me to deliver newspapers. So I had a newspaper route, and I always had money because I made money from my newspaper route, and I made money from cutting grass. I cut more grass. I don't cut grass a day for that reason. I hire somebody to cut grass because I cut more grass in my youth and teenage years than you can never imagine.
Wow.
So I guess you should start at an early age of 11 or 12. I've been an entrepreneur.
That's great. Why will you continue? I mean, you said you're not cutting grass, but one of the things we were talking about before is that you continue to work, right? Very little and strategic, but you continue to work. Why will you continue to repeat using your entrepreneurial strategic mindset?
I'm sold out on the environment that we do have global warming. It's not everybody's assessment that we have global warming, but I believe it's global warming. I just recently, last year, was up in Alaska, and I saw some of the glaciers, how they were sliding out, the islands out there, how they was melting away. People have been living on the islands for hundreds of years. Now they have to vacate the islands. So it's different things that shows us that it is global warming. You might not, I'm not trying to be political, but I believe that it is. So I'm going to do my part with the solar business to try to curtail the global warming. And last summer we had the hottest summer that we've ever had, but nobody's paying attention.
Do you find that something that occurs often? People aren't paying attention?
Well, I think it's more political than anything else. It's whose side you're on. There shouldn't be no sides when it comes to reserving. The only thing God gave us this earth to live on. I don't think you should have a side.
Yeah, I love that. Tell me one other thing you've done consistently over the last 3 years.
Well, I just sold my vending company. That was quite a chore. Filling 37 vending machines twice a week. It wasn't about the money. Money was good, but it got to be a little tough. Yeah. I'm a senior now. I guess you can call me a senior now. I decided I was going to come home and retire, but it didn't work. I was only home for about a couple of months. Then I went to help my brother-in-law set up his restaurant.
Right.
He got a Jerry's franchise.
Okay.
And I went to work for him for supposed to be a couple of months. I ended up working with him for 2 years, so he was on solid footing. This is after I retired.
Yeah.
And then the guy came by my house with this solar business, and he didn't appear to be a salesman to me, so I told him I think I can do that.
Wow.
And that's how I got into the solar business.
How does it make you feel to be that individual that is rolling with the punches, if you would?
It makes me feel good. I can see some of the things I've been doing rubbing off on my daughter and on my son-in-law and my son. I'm proud of all three of them. I don't consider my son-in-law my son-in-law. He's my son because we're very close. My son has had 26 years in the military. He's in the National Guard now, but he's still active National Guard. He spent about 8 years active duty. And I'm proud of him too because at one time he's owned as much as 2 to 3 houses.
Wow.
And now he's living debt-free. He doesn't owe anybody. he owns his own place. He doesn't owe anybody.
Yeah.
And he's quite a guy. He works right now for the U.S. House of Representatives. He repairs and drives the trains that go from the Senate to the House. And so does my son-in-law. He drives on the Senate side, and my son drives on the House side.
Okay.
So they're all well-grounded. I'm proud of that, but I like to get them more into owning their own business.
That's wonderful. Suggest to someone that's listening why they should do what you've done by, being that individual that seems to be able to course correct as you're going along, right? Rolling with the punches.
Well, I enjoy meeting people, and it's rewarding to me that I can be the person that determines how much I'm worth. I believe no matter what your profession is, it's only worth what the person that you're working for says it's worth. And that's why I like to be my own boss and determine what I'm worth. And I've been fairly good at it. Not fairly good at it.
Yeah. That's wonderful. Love it. All right, well, let's switch gears for a moment. Let me now invite you into my imaginary time machine that is surrounded with beautiful, warm, blue Caribbean water. What is your earliest childhood memory?
My earliest childhood memory. Just normal lifestyle. My grandfather was 104 when he passed. And he was like the person that when he spoke, everybody listened. And even over my father, my mother, when my grandfather said something, everybody listened. And I always respected my grandfather, my father, my mother. My mother passed when I was a youngster. I was 12 years old when she passed. But I had a family. I'm number 7 of 7. And I had a family that never missed a beat. And I've had some privileges throughout the years. We weren't the wealthiest family, but we were the entrepreneurial family. And everybody stuck together. I'm the youngest right now. And we have 3 other siblings that's alive and 3 gone, so there's 7 of us. So I have 2 brothers and a sister that's alive now. But we all stuck together. One thing I can say about my family, I can't say it about anybody else. When one needs something or one do something, we all really, really stick together. And even a cousin that we met maybe about 8 years ago when we had a family reunion, it's on my mother's side. They just stole my daughter. They just took over and just stole my daughter. I told them they can't have it. That's my baby girl. But they called, and we're just a beautiful part of the family. I didn't know that existed in every family, but we've had a good family.
Yeah. That's fascinating. Now, from my experience here with you, I would say I'd like to connect the dots with your grandfather. And it seems as though when you speak now, everyone listens.
Oh, I wish that was the case. But no, I don't have any problem with him. my sisters, my brothers, myself, even though I might be younger.
Yeah,
We all kind of listen to each other.
that's good. If we fast forward on this time machine to when you were 12 years old, what was your favorite song?
My favorite song? Well, I'll tell you what. Up until the time that I graduated from high school, I was in a gospel group, so we did a lot of on-air radio singing.
Right.
We traveled around in the South singing different churches and radio programs. So I was brought up in the church, and I wasn't allowed to do a whole lot of outside activities. With a grandfather being a minister and my father and mother being in the church, I didn't have a whole lot of outside activities. It was more like work, do what you're supposed to do, go to church, get your grades up,
Right.
and do what you had to do.
Right. So what was that song? No song? Like, just give me a song you used to sing then, back in that time then.
Oh, we sung a lot of songs.
What was your favorite?
I would guess you could say it depends on what you're talking about, secular music or gospel music.
I say music is music.
If you want to say secular, I like James Brown.
Right. Which one of James Brown's song?
Oh, I got a whole album out in the car, but I feel good.
I love how I feel good. I'll take that. Give me one gospel.
One gospel would be, I Stood on the Banks of Jordan.
Oh, my friend. I love that. Yeah.
And I love that song. I like to sing it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do it now.
Okay. You're good. Yeah.
But that was one of my favorite songs.
That's wonderful. All right, my friend. Well, we've arrived at our destination, but before we get off of this time machine, there's a small declaration form, so it's yes or no, possibly a bit more, right? Mm-hmm. Have you chosen someone to pass on your skills to?
I think my family, yes, they are taking on some of my traits. It's not only some. I worry about my daughter taking on too much. She's had a radio program. She's just an entrepreneur. Yeah. And my son, he's an entrepreneur. He likes dibbling in real estate, buying and selling real estate, and investment in stocks and gold. I don't know. They are ahead of me. Yeah. They're ahead of me. I'm just a little guy compared to where their big ideas are.
Yeah. Are you married?
We've been married. October the 15th will be 52 years.
Wow! Congratulations.
To a wonderful young bride. My young bride, she's just as beautiful today as she was when I married her in 1966.
Wow. What's one secret you'll share with us?
Compromise.
Love it.
Compromise.
Do you have children?
I have two.
All right.
My son, David Jr., and my baby girl in the next room near Kathy.
Do you believe in God?
Oh, absolutely. What do you mean? Nothing happens without that.
Do you have an inner circle of friends?
Oh, quite a few. We attend church 5 minutes from my house. We attended a church in Southeast Washington for 41 years. My family's still there, but being 35, 40-minute drive, I chose a church that was real close to my house, and it takes me 5 minutes. And I'm involved in a lot of the ministries at my church, Helping Hand Ministry and different ones. Yeah, I have a large circle of friends.
Do you watch TV for more than 3 hours a day?
I have to confess, I like the political. They call me a political junkie. I like to see what's going on around me. And yeah, I do watch a couple hours a day, 2 or 3 hours a day sometimes. But mostly, I'm out in the street, and I like playing cards too.
Okay.
I'm a member of the Pinochle Club, so I play Pinochle whenever I get a chance. But that's not as often as I like to because I stay busy.
What about screen time, the phone and or the computer? Is it more than 8 or less than 8 hours a day?
What, the computer?
Yeah.
Well, what I do with the solar business, I live on my computer.
Okay. Because
it's all part of putting the contracts together, following up. It's a lot involved in just I sell solar. That's that's not the end of it. It's a whole lot to it.
I would think so.
Yeah, it's a lot. It takes from the time you contact a person till the time you get panels on the house, it takes about 2.5 to 3 months. And there's follow-up and work you got to do every day just about to carry it on to the end.
Makes sense. Makes sense. All right. If you had to share with us in closing your own unique real statement, a statement that represents David Anderson, what would you say that is?
If I had to say one thing about David, I just love being free. I like being my own boss. And I like determining what my net worth is myself and not give it over to somebody else.
Love it. David Anderson, this has been a great pleasure. Thank you for being on what is inspired by 12-minute Convos with Angel Jones.
All right, thank you. And I wish you guys the best on your journey across the incredible numbers that you guys planning on contacting. I wish you well on your journey.
I appreciate that very much.
Okay.
Boom.